The basketball thudded once against the glossy gym floor, then silence. Every head turned toward the center court, where Marcus, the self-proclaimed king of pay, stood smirking over the new girl. Her books were scattered like fallen feathers. The sound of his voice sliced through the quiet. "Didn't they teach you how to stand on your own, weak girl?" He laughed. The class erupted, half in amusement, half in disbelief, but she didn't flinch. She just stared at him, calm, eyes sharp as glass, like she'd seen monsters before, and didn't find this one impressive. Marcus took a step closer, still grinning. Then something changed. In 3 seconds, his smirk vanished, his balance broke, and the gym gasped. No one saw her move. They just saw Marcus fall hard, and the look on her face that said, "You picked the wrong girl today." Before that day in the gym, no one knew much about the new girl. Her name was Ariyah Cole, transferred mid-semester, quiet, reserved, always sitting near the back of the class. She didn't speak unless spoken to, and when she did, her voice carried a calm that made people uneasy. There was something about her presence, like a storm that hadn't decided when to break. The rumors came fast, as they always do. Some said she moved from Atlanta after a fight at her last school. Others claimed her brother had been in trouble, serious trouble. But no one knew for sure, and Ariyah never corrected them. She just kept her head down, her braids neatly tied, eyes watching everything like she was studying the whole world's patterns. Then there was Marcus Dean, tall, confident, and adored by everyone who didn't have to face him. On the surface, he was the school's golden boy, varsity athlete, perfect smile, teacher's favorite. But beneath that charm was cruelty disguised as humor. He picked targets like it was sport, the quiet, the different, the ones who couldn't or wouldn't fight back. To Marcus's strength was noise, dominance in the hallways, control in every interaction. To Ariyah's strength was silence, learning when to hold back, when to breathe, when to wait. The two were destined to collide. Ariyah came from a neighborhood where silence wasn't weakness. It was survival. Her mother worked 2 jobs. Her father had gone before she turned 10. Her older brother Malik had taught her to keep her chin up, never let MCU break, baby girl. But Malik's voice was now only a memory. He'd been the victim of a cruel prank, one that had gone too far, and the name behind it, whispered, but never proven, was Marcus Dean. That's why Ariyah transferred here. Not to start fresh. To finish what her brother couldn't. Every morning, she walked past Marcus's locker. It was quiet, steady, like she was measuring him. And every day he'd throw a careless comment her way, unaware that each word was a match tossed toward gasoline. So when he called her weak in front of everyone, it wasn't just another insult. It was the sound of fate clicking into place. And Ariyah Cole, the girl who never raised her voice, was about to make sure. Marcus never forgot what real strength looked like. The next morning, the gym floor still remembered what had happened. The whisper of sneakers, the echo of that stunned silence. But no one said her name aloud. The teachers brushed it off as an accident. Marcus had tripped, that's all. He'd insisted on it, even though everyone saw the way Ariyah moved, or rather, didn't move. Still, Marcus wasn't the kind of person who let humiliation breathe for long. He turned embarrassment into fury, and fury into obsession. By the time lunch came, the story had twisted into a new version. The new girl shoved him. She hit him. She's violent. She's dangerous. Ariyah sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria, headphones in, untouched tray before her. She wasn't listening to music. The cord dangled loose. She was listening to the room. The whispers didn't bother her. They told her what she needed to know. People feared what they couldn't understand. Across the cafeteria, Marcus and his friends laughed too loud. His bruised ego needed an audience, and he found it in his crew, the same group that helped him build his king reputation. One of them, Yalan, leaned in and muttered something that made Marcus grin. His eyes found Ariyah. He stood up. The crowd noticed before Ariyah did. Conversations hushed as he approached, his sneakers squeaking softly against the floor. His smile was calm, almost friendly, the kind of calm that hides something sharp underneath. "Hey, new girl," he said, stopping beside her table. She didn't look up. "You deaf or something?" He pushed, tapping her headphone. She removed it slowly, her gaze rising to meet his. Her expression didn't waver. Something like that. The table behind them giggled. Marcus smirked. You got lucky yesterday. I slipped. Happens. But let's make one thing clear. You pull something like that again, you'll wish you never transferred here. Ariyah blinked once. You done? His jaw tightened. No one talked to him like that, not here. He leaned closer, his breath hot with arrogance. You think you're tough because you caught me off guard? You're not. You're just... She stood, slowly, calmly, and though she was shorter, her posture didn't bend. Weak, he finished, but the word came out smaller than he meant it to. Ariyah looked around. Every pair of eyes in the cafeteria was on them now. Then she looked back at him. Not angry, not afraid, just steady. You keep saying that word, she said softly. Maybe you should ask yourself why it scares you so much. The cafeteria went silent. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Marcus felt his face heat from anger, embarrassment, confusion, maybe all three. Before he could reply, Ariyah grabbed her tray and walked away, her calmness cutting deeper than any insult could. He laughed after her too loudly. Yeah, keep walking, weak girl. But even as he said it, something in his stomach turned. Her eyes, the way she'd looked at him, it wasn't defiance. It was recognition. Like she already knew him, knew something about him he didn't want the world to see. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He replayed that look over and over again. Then, while scrolling through social media, he found something that froze him. A news article. A fight. A tragedy from a nearby city. A boy named Ariyah Cole, victim of a hazing prank gone wrong. No arrests made. No proof. Just rumors that a popular athlete from a neighboring school had been involved? Marcus stared at the photo. Malik's face looked painfully familiar. Same eyes as Ariyah. Same calm expression. He dropped his phone. It all clicked. The transfer, the silence, the stare. He'd buried that past long ago. No one knew. No one could know. And yet, here she was. The next morning, he walked into the gym earlier than usual, his confidence cracked, but not yet broken. Ariyah was already there, stretching quietly in the corner, earbuds in. He hesitated. For a moment, guilt pressed against his chest, something human trying to surface, but pride buried it again. He smirked and shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. Guess what, y'all? The new girl's back for round 2. Let's see if she can actually play this time. Laughter. Applause. The audience he needed. Ariyah didn't move. She finished tying her sneakers, stood up, and finally looked at him. Her voice was low, but clear. You really don't get it, do you? Marcus frowned. Get what? She stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear. I didn't come here to fight you, Marcus. Her tone softened, almost pitying. I came here to show you what you did. Then she walked past him, her shoulder brushing his just enough to make him flinch. The gym went quiet again. For the first time in his life, Marcus Dean felt something he didn't recognize. It wasn't anger. It was fear. Over the next week, the school's energy changed. You could feel it in the whispers between classes, in the way people turned when Ariyah walked down the hall. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was tension, a quiet storm brewing beneath the usual teenage chaos. Marcus tried to reclaim his throne. He cracked jokes, laughed too loudly, made sure everyone saw that cocky grin, but it didn't land the same way anymore. Something about him seemed off, a little too forced, a little too defensive. His friends noticed, even if they didn't say it. And Ariyah. She didn't feed it. She didn't rise to the bait. Every insult rolled off her like rain. In English class, she'd sit near the window, eyes distant, pen tapping rhythmically against her notebook. It wasn't random. It was the same rhythm every time. Almost like a heartbeat. Yo, Marcus, Yalin whispered one day, glancing at Ariyah's back. You sure you want to keep messing with her? She's got that quiet, crazy look, man. Marcus scoffed, though his jaw tightened. Crazy? Nah, she's scared. You'll see. But Yolan wasn't convinced. He'd seen the look Ariyah gave Marcus in the gym. It wasn't fear, it was patience. The group gathered at their usual table. Marcus laughed loud enough for the whole room to hear. "I'm telling you, she's playing a game. I could break her confidence in a week." "Why?" said Zoe, a girl from the volleyball team who'd always had a crush on him. "What do you even get out of that?" He leaned back. "Respect. Control. You let one person think they can talk back to you, and soon everyone will." Zoe frowned. "Maybe they should." The table went quiet. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What's that supposed to mean?" She looked him dead in the eye. "I saw her face, Marcus. She wasn't scared of you. You looked scared of her." Laughter covered his discomfort, but the words landed. He brushed it off, changed the subject, but they lingered like static in the back of his mind. Across the room, Ariyah sat with a small group, not quite friends, more like people curious enough to test her silence. One of them, a tall, soft-spoken boy named Chris, leaned over. "You really not going to say anything?" "Dude's making a fool of himself." Ariyah's gaze stayed on her food. "He's already doing that without my help." Chris chuckled. "Still, what's your deal with him anyway?" For a moment she hesitated. Her fork froze midair. "Let's just say, he reminds me of someone who taught me how ugly fear can look when it's wearing a smile." Chris didn't push further. The room's noise filled the space between them. But Ariyah's words stuck. The teacher, Mr. Peterson, had paired students for a history project. The random draw brought groans and laughter until one name combination dropped the room into awkward silence. Marcus Dean and Ariyah Cole. Every head turned. Marcus looked at the paper like it was cursed. Ariyah didn't move. Mr. Peterson smiled, oblivious. "Good, you two will cover post-war social reform. I expect a presentation by next Friday." After class, Marcus approached her desk. "Let's get something straight. I'm not wasting my weekend on some project with you." Ariyah calmly slipped her notebook into her bag. "Then don't. I'll finish it." He frowned. "You think I'm going to let you take all the credit?" She stood up, meeting his glare with a look that made him falter. "You don't have to let me do anything, Marcus. You've already taken enough from people like me." The way she said it, like it meant more than schoolwork, made his throat tighten. He stepped aside as she walked past him, heart pounding with something that wasn't anger. It was guilt again, and memory, that night. Marcus sat on his bed scrolling through old messages, trying to convince himself he hadn't done anything wrong back then. Malik Cole, that name haunted him. It had been a stupid prank, something meant to scare, not destroy. But things had spiraled, and he'd run. No one had ever found out. He thought about telling someone, Yalan, maybe, but pride locked his tongue. So instead, he doubled down. The week began the same drills, basketball scrimmages, laughter echoing off the gym walls. Marcus made sure to be loud again, commanding, in control. But Ariyah's quiet presence was like gravity. No matter what he did, attention drifted her way. During team selection, the coach paired them again. Marcus protested immediately. "Coach, she's not even trying. She just stands there." Coach Reynolds frowned. "You could learn something from people who don't talk all the time, Dean. Play ball." The whistle blew. The game began. It started normal. Running, dribbling, shouting. But midway through, Marcus noticed something strange. Ariyah wasn't playing offense or defense. She was reading him every move, every twitch, every fake. It was like she knew what he was going to do before he did. He got the ball. She stood between him and the basket, expression unreadable. He smirked, charged forward, spun right. She moved left. He cut back. She didn't. Then, at the last second, she stepped in and took the ball clean out of his hands. No shove, no foul, just precision. The gym fell silent again. Marcus froze. His pride screamed at him to react. Instead, he lunged for the ball and tripped. Hard. The sound echoed. Laughter followed. He scrambled up, face red. Ariyah looked down at him, calm as ever. You really should watch your balance. Her tone wasn't mocking. It was warning. By lunch, the moment was viral. Someone had filmed it, slow motion, zoomed in, captioned, "The day Marcus Dean got schooled." The comments were brutal. Finally, someone shut him up. Ariyah got hands. Weak. Nah, he just can't handle strong. Marcus's phone buzzed nonstop. Every notification was another hit to his ego. When he saw Ariyah later that day in the hallway, he cornered her, voice low. "You think this is funny?" She didn't stop walking. "I think it's fair." He grabbed her wrist lightly, but enough to make her pause. "You don't know what you're messing with." She turned slowly, her expression colder than he'd ever seen. "You're right. I don't, but you do." She looked down at his hand, still gripping her wrist. "Let go." He did. Instantly, she leaned closer, whispering just loud enough for him to hear, "You can hide from everyone else, Marcus. But not from what you did to my brother." Then she walked away. Marcus stood frozen, heart hammering. The hallway buzzed faintly around him, but all he heard was his pulse. Loud, fast, guilty. That night, Marcus found himself driving past the old part of town, the one he hadn't been near in over a year. The place where it had happened, the empty lot behind the old gym where the prank on Ariyah Cole had gone wrong. The streetlights flickered, throwing long shadows across the cracked pavement. He parked. Staring at the spot where everything had changed, he could still hear the laughter, the shouting, the panic. Malik's voice. The sirens he'd buried that night under months of denial, telling himself it wasn't his fault. But now, it was alive again. Breathing through the eyes of his victim's sister, he gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. Ariyah sat at a corner table, flipping through a history book. Marcus walked in, not loud this time, not smirking, just pale. He sat across from her without asking. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said quietly. Ariyah didn't look up. "You meant enough." "I didn't," she snapped the book shut. "You think that makes it better?" His voice cracked. "I didn't even know he was your brother. Does it matter?" She whispered. "He's still dead." Silence. The kind that stretches so long it becomes sound. Finally, Ariyah stood, sliding her notebook toward him. On the first page, neatly written, were notes for their joint project. "We finish this, then you tell the truth. That's the deal." Marcus stared at her. "And if I don't?" She met his gaze with that same calm fire. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of king you really are." The next few days were a countdown. Marcus tried to focus, but guilt clawed at every corner of his life. He saw Malik's face in mirrors, heard his voice in the echo of basketballs. Ariyah's presence shadowed him, quiet, patient, waiting. By Thursday, the project was due. The class gathered. Marcus stood at the front, papers trembling in his hands. Ariyah waited beside him, expression unreadable. He looked out at the sea of faces, laughing, chatting unaware, and his throat closed. Halfway through the presentation, he stopped speaking. His voice cracked. The class fell silent. "Something wrong, Marcus?" the teacher asked. He glanced at Ariyah. She didn't say a word, just nodded once. A signal. Marcus swallowed hard, breath shaking. "Yeah, something's wrong." And before he could stop himself, the truth began to rise. But before he could speak, the classroom door opened. A security officer entered, whispering something to the teacher. The teacher's face changed, serious, confused, and the room buzzed with tension. "Marcus Dean," the officer said. "We need to talk. Now." Gasps, murmurs. Marcus froze, eyes darting to Ariyah. She didn't smile, didn't gloat, just whispered, "It's time." And for the first time in his life, Marcus realized he wasn't in control. Any more cliffhanger. The hallway outside the classroom was silent, except for the sound of Marcus's sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. The officer didn't cuff him, not yet, but the presence was enough to send a cold ripple down his spine. Students craned their necks from inside the room, whispering, phones already out. Ariyah stayed by the door, her hands folded calmly in front of her, eyes following him, but showing no satisfaction. This wasn't triumph. It was something deeper. Justice, maybe. The teacher called after them. What's going on? The officer's tone was clipped. Just need to ask Mr. Dean a few questions about an old case. That phrase, old case, hung heavy in the air. When Marcus glanced back, he caught Ariyah's eyes. She didn't look angry. She looked tired. The kind of tired that came from carrying something for too long. Marcus sat in the chair, heart racing. Across from him sat Principal Watkins, hands clasped, brow furrowed. The officer, Detective Harris, leaned against the wall. Flipping through a thin folder, Marcus Watkins said carefully, "Detective Harris is reopening an investigation involving a student named Ariyah Cole. You remember that name?" Marcus's throat tightened. "Yeah. I remember. Department received an anonymous tip," Harris said, eyes locked on him. "Said you might know more about what happened that night behind Jefferson Gym." Marcus's stomach dropped. Anonymous tip. There was only one person that could be. "I already told everyone," he stammered. "It was an accident." "I didn't." Harris cut him off. "Then you shouldn't mind telling the story again." Marcus stared at the floor. The room felt smaller by the second. His chest ached with the weight of everything he'd buried. He told it, or tried to. How it started as a prank, a dare, how Ariyah had been blindfolded, how someone shouted too loud, how the pushing started, how the laughter stopped when Ariyah hit the ground. By the end, his voice was shaking. Watkins exhaled slowly. "You were never honest about this before." "I was scared," Marcus whispered. "I didn't mean." Harris closed the folder. "Intent doesn't erase the consequence, son." He stood. "We're not pressing charges today, but we will need you and your parents down at the station for an official statement." As the detective left, Marcus stayed slumped in the chair, unable to breathe. Watkins's voice softened. "Marcus, you had a chance to be better after that. What happened?" He didn't answer. Hours later, Marcus wandered into the empty gym. The same place where it all started, the noise, the laughter, the control he thought he had. Now, it felt like a graveyard of echoes. The lights hummed overhead, casting long shadows across the bleachers. Then he heard it. The soft squeak of sneakers on the floor. Ari. She walked in. Gym bag slung over her shoulder, calm as ever. She didn't look surprised to see him. "Coach said I could use the gym after hours," she said quietly. "Didn't know you'd be here." Marcus didn't move. "You called them, didn't you?" "The cops." She set her bag down. "I told the truth." He laughed, sharp, bitter. "You ruined my life." Her expression didn't change. "No, Marcus, you did that. I just stopped you from hiding it." Turned, pacing, running a hand through his hair. "You don't get it." "I didn't mean for your brother too." She cut him off, voice steady. "Stop saying you didn't mean it. You meant to humiliate him. You meant to make him feel small. You didn't care what happened after." Silence. The words hit harder than any punch. Ariyah stepped forward. "Do you know what it's like to watch your brother fade because of something someone else's ego created? To see him stop eating, stop smiling, stop trying. You killed more than just his body, Marcus. You killed his light." Marcus's eyes stung. "I didn't know it got that bad." "You never asked." Ariyah walked over to the rack of medicine balls, picking one up like it weighed nothing. She bounced it once, catching it smoothly. "My brother used to bring me here," she said. "We'd train every morning before school. He taught me how to stand, how to breathe, how to fight without fighting." She looked up, eyes shining under the gym lights. "He said strength wasn't about hurting people. It was about surviving them." She turned toward Marcus, tossing the ball lightly in her hands. "You ever been hit, Marcus?" He blinked. "What?" "Hit. Knocked down. Really hit." He shook his head slowly. Ariyah stepped closer. "Then maybe it's time you understood what that feels like." For a second, he thought she was going to swing. He tensed, but instead, she dropped the ball and stepped past him toward the bleachers. "You think this is about revenge?" she said, sitting down. "It's not." "You think I want you in jail?" "I don't. I want you to remember. Every day, I want you to know what it feels like to lose control of everything the way Ariyah did." Marcus's jaw trembled. He turned away, his voice low. I can't undo it, no, Ariyah said softly. But you can stop pretending you didn't do it. There was a long silence, the kind that makes you hear your own heartbeat. Then, without warning, Ariyah pulled something from her gym bag, a small folded piece of paper. She placed it on the bleachers between them. He hesitated before picking it up. It was a letter, Malik's handwriting. If something ever happens to me, tell her not to fight back. Tell her to be the storm that waits, not the one that breaks. Tell her I'm proud. Marcus's breath caught. He wrote this. Ariyah nodded. A week before he died. Marcus's eyes filled with tears he hadn't let himself feel in a long time. He held the letter like it burned. Ariyah stood. Now you understand. You never destroyed my brother's life, Marcus. You destroyed your own. She started walking toward the exit. Marcus turned, desperate. Wait, what do I do now? She paused at the door, looking back over her shoulder. Do what Malik couldn't face it. And with that, she walked out, leaving him alone in the empty gym. Clutching the letter, that night Marcus didn't go home. He drove until the city lights faded and the road turned to dust and silence. He stopped at a park, the same one where he and Malik used to practice before everything went wrong. He sat on the bench, letter in hand, and for the first time in years, he cried. Not the kind of crying that's loud or angry, the quiet kind. The kind that breaks you in silence. He replayed every moment, the laughter, the shove, the look on Malik's face. And then Ariyah's eyes, those same eyes, looking at him with both fury and mercy. By dawn, he'd made a decision. He was done running. Morning assembly. The auditorium buzzed with chatter and energy. The principal stepped onto the stage, calling for quiet. We'll begin today's program with a short message from one of our students, he said, gesturing toward the side curtain. When Marcus Dean stepped onto the stage, the room fell into stunned silence. He stood at the microphone, hands shaking slightly. Hey, he started, voice hoarse. Most of you know me. I used to think being strong meant being loud, being right, being on top. He swallowed hard. But I was wrong. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Ariyah sat near the back, unreadable. Marcus continued, eyes glistening. 2 years ago, I did something I've spent every day trying to forget. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And he's not here anymore because of me. Gasps filled the room. I can't take it back, he said, voice breaking. But I can stop lying about who I am. I can stop pretending I'm a king when I've been nothing but a coward. He looked out across the crowd and found Ariyah. For the first time, she met his gaze and didn't look away. I'm sorry, Malik, he said, his voice trembling. And I'm sorry, Ariyah. He stepped back from the mic. The room was silent. The kind of silence that means something has shifted. When he walked off the stage, he didn't look for applause. There wasn't any. There didn't need to be. He'd finally done what she wanted, what her brother had wanted. He'd faced it. Outside, as students spilled into the hallways, Ariyah caught up with him. That took guts, she said softly. He nodded. Guess I finally learned what real strength looks like. She studied him for a moment, then said, Malik would have liked to hear that. He looked down, emotion thick in his throat. Do you think he'd forgive me? Ariyah sighed. Forgiveness isn't mine to give, but maybe. It's yours to earn. For the first time, Marcus didn't argue. He just nodded. As she turned to walk away, he called out, Ariyah. She paused. Thank you. For not hitting me when you had the chance. A small smile tugged at her lips. My brother taught me better than that. Then she walked off, the echo of her footsteps fading down the hall, strong, steady, unbroken. Marcus stood there, feeling the weight in his chest shift, not disappear, but change. He wasn't free yet, but for the first time, he wasn't trapped either. And somewhere, deep inside, he hoped Ariyah Cole was watching, finally able to rest. The audience feels both justice and suspense here. The truth is out. Marcus's public image collapses, and Ariyah's true strength is revealed not through violence, but through restraint, control, and emotional power. The real destruction of his life isn't physical. It's the collapse of his pride and his false identity. The next morning dawned gray. One of those days when the clouds seemed too heavy for the sky. The school sat under that weight like it knew something big was coming. By first period, everyone had heard about Marcus's confession at the assembly. Screenshots of the live stream had already gone viral on social media. The clip Marcus Dean admits to causing Ariyah Cole's death had thousands of views, comments piling up beneath it. He finally said it. Ariyah's brother? I knew something was off. This is justice. But inside those same walls, Marcus wasn't scrolling through his phone. He was sitting alone in the gym, staring at the empty bleachers, head bowed, hands clasped. The light from the high windows spilled over him like judgment. He looked smaller now, not the king of the hallways, not the golden boy. Just a kid who had finally seen the size of his shadow. Then the door creaked open. Ariyah stepped inside. No audience this time. No classmates, no cameras. Just the two of them, the boy who took and the girl who came to take back. Marcus looked up slowly, guilt clouding his eyes. I figured you'd come. I almost didn't, she said, walking to the middle of the floor. Her steps echoed like drum beats. But I realized there's one more thing I needed to say before this ends. He stood wary. You already said enough. The whole world knows what I did. They know what you confessed. Not what you understand. He frowned. What do you mean? Ariyah's voice stayed calm to calm. You said sorry because you got caught. You told the truth because guilt finally broke you. But you still don't know what it feels like to be the one left standing in the wreckage. He took a step closer, desperate. Then tell me. I want to understand. She nodded. Good. Her tone hardened, and suddenly the gym felt smaller, like the air itself had started to close in. Close your eyes, Marcus. He hesitated. What? Close them. Something in her voice command, not request, made him obey. She circled him slowly, her words cutting through the silence. Imagine you're walking home one night. You hear laughter behind you, not friendly, the kind that makes your spine tighten. You turn, and it's faces you know. Boys you thought were just playing around. They push you, just once. Then again, then harder. You're on the ground now, but they don't stop. They never stop. Until you stop moving. Her footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate. Now imagine the laughter fading. Imagine one of them, you, realizing what's happened. And instead of helping, you run. You hide. You go home, eat dinner, sleep. And the world keeps spinning, except for one family whose world ended right there on that pavement. Marcus's breathing quickened. His fists clenched at his sides. Ariyah's voice trembled, not with weakness, but with power. That's what you did. You didn't just take my brother's life. You took our peace. You made my mother afraid of silence because silence means remembering him. You made me afraid to trust laughter because it sounds like that night. Her voice broke then, the first time she'd ever let emotion leak through her armor. You made me build walls so high, I forgot what it felt like to be soft. She stopped walking. He opened his eyes. There were tears on her cheeks, but her stare was steady. I didn't come here to hurt you, Marcus. I came here to return what you gave us. That moment when everything you thought you were collapsed. She took a deep breath, and when she spoke again, her voice turned into something cinematic, deliberate, slow. Heavy with truth, you called me weak. Marcus swallowed, eyes glistening. You said I didn't know strength. But look at you. She gestured at him, trembling, broken. You had popularity, power, friends. And the moment the truth touched you, it all fell apart. She stepped closer, face inches from his. That's not strength. That's fragility with a loud mouth. The words hit like punches, slow motion, echoing in the empty gym. Marcus's knees buckled. He sank onto the floor, hands over his face. I can't fix it, he whispered. Ariyah crouched beside him. No, but you can face it. Every day. Every morning you wake up, you remember what your choices cost. Her voice softened again, the storm easing into something calmer. And if you really want to make it right, You use that pain to stop someone else from doing what you did. You stand between another Malik and another you. Marcus nodded, choking on his breath. I will. I swear, I will. Ariyah looked at him for a long moment, searching for something real. When she finally found it, she stood and turned away. You said it only took 3 seconds for me to destroy your life, she said quietly. But the truth is, Marcus, I didn't destroy it. He looked up, eyes swollen. Then who did? She paused at the door, her silhouette framed by the morning lights spilling in. You did? 3 years ago. I just made you see it. The door closed behind her, echo ringing like a final bell. Voiceover. Ariyah's calm narration over visual flashbacks, 3 seconds. That's all it takes for power to flip, for a bully to meet the mirror he's been avoiding. People think revenge is loud, bloody, full of chaos. But real revenge? It's silence. It's watching someone realize they were never as strong as they believed. It's seeing guilt crawl under their skin until it becomes their shadow. Cut to Marcus sitting alone on the gym floor, staring at Malik's letter, his fingers trembling as he traces the handwriting. He used to call me weak. Maybe I am. But weakness is feeling pain and not turning it into hate. Weakness is still having a heart when the world tells you to lose it. So if that's weakness, she's walking down the hallway now, slow, graceful, strong. Students part quietly as she passes. No laughter, no whispers, just respect. Then I'll wear it like armor. By the end of the week, Marcus's confession had become national news. Local reporters interviewed teachers, students, even Malik's old coach. Social media lit up, half calling for punishment, half calling it redemption. He faced disciplinary hearings, community service, counseling, real consequences this time. But he didn't fight them. He didn't run. Ariyah didn't attend the hearings. She didn't need to. Watching him face truth was the closure she'd come for. Instead, she'd spent her evenings volunteering at a youth center, the same one where her brother used to mentor kids before he died. One day while locking up, she saw a flyer posted on the wall. Guest speaker, Marcus Dean, the cost of silence. Her heart skipped. The small gym was filled with quiet conversation as students shuffled into the seats. Marcus stood at the front, no longer the swaggering jock. His hair was shorter, his voice steadier. When he began to speak, it wasn't polished. It was honest. I used to think hurting people made me powerful, he said. Then I met someone who showed me what real strength looks like. She didn't hit me. She didn't humiliate me. She made me face myself. And that was worse and better than any punishment. From the back of the room, Ariyah watched silently. Marcus continued, voice thick with humility. If you think you can bury guilt, you can't. It waits. It grows. Until someone or something forces you to face it. Don't wait for that. Be better now. He paused, looked up, and for a brief second, their eyes met. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just nodded a quiet acknowledgement. She returned it. No words, no forgiveness. Just understanding. Shot 1. Marcus walking out of the youth center into the fading sunlight. Malik's letter folded in his pocket. Shot 2. Ariyah jogging down the same old track where Malik once trained her brother's dog tag hanging from her neck. Shot 3. A basketball rolling slowly across the gym floor. Stopping where Marcus once fell, the echo of the bounce fading into silence. Voiceover. Ariyah's final narration, they say, strength is about winning. About who's louder, faster, tougher. But sometimes, strength is about staying quiet until it's time to speak. Marcus called me weak, but I was never weak. I was waiting. Screen fades to black, then. In white text, in memory of Ariyah Cole, and for every voice silenced by someone too afraid to listen. Emotional confrontation seen with cinematic dialogue pacing, justice delivered through truth, not violence. Slow-motion narrative beats for YouTube storytelling ideal for visual plus voiceover layering. Moral power shift. The weak girl becomes the symbol of real strength. Ends with Marcus's transformation and Ariyah's closure. The sun had barely risen over the quiet streets of Ridgeview when Ariyah opened her eyes. It had been exactly 40 days since that morning in the gym. 40 days since the truth had torn through the walls of her new school like a storm no one could stop. For the first time in years, she woke up without the weight pressing on her chest. The grief was still there. Malik's laughter, his voice, his absence, but it no longer felt like a wound. It felt like a scar, something she could touch without breaking. She stood before the mirror and studied her reflection. The same brown skin, the same dark eyes, but there was something new now. Steadiness. Strength not born from rage or revenge, but from release. She whispered softly, "I did it, Malik," and maybe it was just the wind, or maybe it was something else. But she swore she heard his voice echo faintly in her head. "Told you, lil sis. You were always stronger than me." The school hallways had changed. There was no laughter at someone else's expense. No jokes meant to wound, no whispers that spread like wildfire. A strange quiet had settled, not fearful, but reflective. Marcus had returned to classes after his suspension, but he was different. He no longer walked at the center of a group. His shoulders were lower, his voice quieter. People didn't mock him. They didn't need to. The silence around him said, enough. Some avoided him entirely. Others offered cautious hellos. But the loudest shift wasn't in how people treated Marcus. It was in how they treated each other. The kids who used to blend into the walls started speaking up more. The laughter in the cafeteria became softer, safer. The teachers noticed. Even Principal Reed had started weekly assemblies on empathy and accountability. Ariyah didn't take credit for any of it. She didn't need to. Her power had never been about being seen. It was about being felt. One afternoon, as she packed her books, Al-Claysmed Maya walked over a girl who used to laugh at Marcus's jokes. She hesitated, fiddling with her sleeve. "Hey, Ariyah looked up. "Yeah, I just wanted to say." Maya's voice cracked a little. "I was there. When Marcus used to... I never said anything. I'm sorry." Ariyah's expression softened. "Thank you." Maya looked confused. "That's it?" Ariyah smiled faintly. "You don't owe me anything else. Just don't stay silent next time. That's how people like Marcus grow." Maya nodded slowly, eyes glistening. "I won't." As Maya walked away, Ariyah exhaled deeply. Forgiveness wasn't about excusing. It was about unclenching her fists. A month later, Marcus's Cost of Silence program began. It started small, just him visiting other schools, talking to students about bullying and accountability. But word spread quickly. His honesty caught attention. He didn't make excuses. He didn't dramatize. He just told the truth. "I used to think bullying was power," he said during one of his talks. "But power isn't about control. It's about responsibility. It's about realizing your words can build or break people." He told Malik's story, not for sympathy, but for memory. And every time he did, he made sure to say Malik's name with reverence. Ariyah watched one of his speeches online one night. She expected to feel anger or maybe satisfaction. Instead, she felt something quieter, peace. In the comments, people wrote things like, "This story changed me. I was a Marcus once. I want to be better. Rest in peace, Malik." For the first time. Malik's name wasn't followed by pity or gossip. It was followed by change. That's all she'd ever wanted. 2 weeks later, Ariyah found a letter in her locker. Plain white envelope. No name on it. She opened it slowly. "Ariyah, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, I visited Malik's mother last weekend. I told her the truth. I told her everything. She didn't yell at me. She just cried. And when she was done, she said my son believed in second chances. Don't waste yours. I won't. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like." Her hands trembled as she read it. For a long moment, she couldn't move. Then she pressed the letter to her chest, closed her eyes, and whispered, "You did good, Mom." Later that evening, she walked home beneath the soft glow of the streetlights. Her brother's dog tag cool against her skin. She didn't need revenge anymore. She had justice. And justice didn't roar, it whispered. Spring arrived early that year. The school's track field bloomed with dandelions pushing through the cracks. Ariyah stood on the line, stretching quietly. She hadn't run since the night Malik died. It had always reminded her too much of him. But today, she felt ready. She placed one earbud in, the other dangling free. A familiar voice echoed in her memory, "Breathe. Don't run from it. Run through it." The whistle blew imaginary, but real enough. She ran. Each stride burned, each breath steadied. The world blurred, but her mind cleared. Every step was a goodbye to the fear that had lived in her for years. When she finally stopped, hands on her knees, she laughed. Not out of joy or relief, but because she realized something simple, something powerful. She wasn't running anymore. She was free. People ask if I ever forgave Marcus. The truth. Forgiveness isn't a gift for someone else. It's how you stop carrying their sin on your shoulders. I didn't come here to destroy him. I came here to face what he took. My peace. And when I found it again, I realized something. You don't heal by hurting back. You heal by rising so high they can't reach where your pain used to live. Cut 2. Montage: Ariyah walking through the hallway, a group of students laughing kindly this time. Marcus handing a student a flyer. End bullying. Start listening. Photo of Malik framed on the community center wall. With the quote, "Strength is the quiet that survives the noise." Called me weak. But weakness didn't destroy him. Truth did. Because truth doesn't flinch. It was the end of the semester. Ms. Rivera's English class was giving final presentations. The theme, "What Strength Means to Me." Ariyah stood at the front, calm as ever. Strength, she began, isn't about muscles or how loud you can shout. It's not about being the one everyone fears. Strength is when you can face the person who broke you and still choose not to become them. She paused, her voice softening. Strength is remembering, but not letting that memory own you. She smiled slightly. Strength is Malik. The class erupted into quiet applause, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Ms. Rivera wiped a tear discreetly. Thank you, Ariyah. As Ariyah took her seat, a quiet voice behind her whispered, "That was beautiful." She turned. Marcus sat 2 rows back, eyes red but clear, his notebook open to a blank page. On the corner, he had written one sentence: "Weakness made me cruel. Strength made me human." The screen fades to black, but before the outro, a line appears in white text. A bully called the new girl weak. But strength isn't always loud. And Ariyah's voice, firm, clear, the final line. Designed for emotional impact and rewatch value. If this story reached you, don't just watch it. Carry it, because somewhere out there, a quiet kid is being tested. Be the one who listens before it's too late. Soft piano outro. Black screen. A single quote fades in for 3 seconds before the video ends. You can't rewrite the past, but you can stop it from repeating. Emotional resolution through transformation, not revenge. Marcus redeems himself through truth and empathy. Ariyah finds peace and identity, honoring her brother. Themes: Black resilience, silence as strength, healing through justice, not hate. Ending monologue crafted to hook retention and trigger high CTR with moral impact. Soft piano begins, slow, cinematic, almost like rainfall finding rhythm. The screen fades from black to a gentle golden light. Ariyah, standing on the edge of the school's track. Wind brushing through her braids. She looks peaceful. In a world that calls you weak, your silence can be your storm. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the breath you take instead of shouting back. The tears you hide until you're ready to turn them into something greater. The world will try to measure your worth by how much noise you make. Don't let it. Real power is quiet. It's the calm that comes after the chaos, when you realize you survived every moment that tried to break you. Cut to montage. Slow shots of Ariyah walking past students who now smile when they see her. The camera pans over a mural in the hallway. Malik's face, painted with the words "Strength lives quiet." Ariyah didn't win because she fought harder. She won because she understood deeper. And Marcus, he didn't lose because he fell. He lost because it took falling to learn what standing really meant. A gentle swell of strings rises under the piano. If you've ever been called weak, too quiet, too soft, remember this softness isn't a flaw. It's proof you still care in a world that keeps trying to harden you. That's not weakness. That's power without violence. Camera pans up. The sky brightens, sunlight filtering through clouds. We see Ariyah pause, close her eyes, and smile faintly. And maybe that's the lesson Malik left behind, that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means walking through the memory without letting it own you. You don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes the quietest voices echo the longest. Music fades lower, almost like a heartbeat slowing down. Then, the tone shifts just slightly from reflection to invitation. If stories like this hit home, if they make you feel seen, then you're part of this family now. Subscribe not for me, but for the next story that'll find you. Because maybe the next one will be your reminder that what you carry inside, the pain you hide, the strength you don't even realize you have, it all matters. Cut to Ariyah walking out of frame, leaving her brother's dog tag hanging from the chain link fence. Sunlight catching it as the camera lingers. I tell stories about people the world tries to overlook. The quiet ones. The scarred ones. The ones who look weak until life makes the mistake of testing them. The piano melody softens to just a few notes, then fades beneath the final lines. So if you're still watching right now, maybe that means you felt this one. If you did leave a comment, tell me what strength means to you. Because the truth is, your words might be the thing that saves someone else's tomorrow. Pause. Let silence breathe for 2 beats. Then the outro title fades in. A bully called the new girl weak. But she taught him what strength really is. Screen slowly fades to black. Text fades in white on black, in loving memory of those who were called weak and proved the world wrong. Soft piano ends on a single echoing note. Share this story if it made you feel. Subscribe for the next one, where silence speaks louder than revenge. And remember, strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just breathes. Fade out.